as you're suggesting, a very strong jobs number, adding 4.8 million jobs, the expectation 2.9, 2 months in a row of positive beats in that regard. You must be very pleased.
Well, we're very pleased, as the president said this morning. This is evidence that the American economy is coming back strong, which is a testament to the resilience and strength of the American people. But it's also a testament, unquestionably, to the historic steps President Trump took to see our nation through this coronavirus pandemic. The mitigation efforts, the rescue packages, they're all confirmed today. Nearly 5 million jobs created. And when we look at the number of jobs that were lost initially through this pandemic at the worst moment, some 22 million jobs lost, we've cut that now by a third, put 8 million Americans. We've lowered that number, unemployment down to 11%. This is a great day for America, and it's a great tribute to the leadership of President Donald Trump.
Mr. Vice President, the absolute numbers, as you're suggesting, are very impressive. Though that slightly misses the context. Unemployment 11.1%, nicely down from near 15% peak, but well above the 3.5% low back in February. Right. I'm sure you'll agree that we're not quite in the moment of real celebration yet. We need a couple more months, like we've just seen, before we'll get there. And on that note, I wondered whether you were worried that the spikes we've seen in virus cases in certain states in the last couple of weeks might derail this economic recovery.
Well, let me say first, we couldn't agree more that we're making tremendous progress. Last month, nearly 3 million jobs added. This month, nearly 5 million jobs added. But we have a ways to go. But the good news is, because of all the policies that President Trump put into effect over the first 3 years, the foundation of this economy is strong. And I think that's what you're seeing. Certainly the mitigation efforts the American people have embraced and continue to embrace in hotspots around the country have had a tremendous effect. Certainly the rescue packages. But I have to tell you, Will, the fact that this president cut taxes, rolled back regulation, fought for free and fair trade, unleashed American energy, I think explains why now for 2 months in a row we've seen strong economic numbers, and it's on that strong foundation that we're going to continue to move our nation forward. But to your point about the pandemic, I was in Arizona yesterday, Texas over the weekend. I'll be in Florida later today because the president's instructed us to make sure that in those states that are seeing a rise in coronavirus cases and particularly a rise in positivity rates, that we want to make sure those states have everything they need. And again, what I heard yesterday in Arizona is that because of the steps the president took to reinvent testing, now more than 33 million tests performed across the country, PPE supplies are strong, testing are strong, more therapeutic medicines are available every day, and we're going to stay with these states that are seeing rising cases every step of the way as they continue to take steps to mitigate the expansion of the coronavirus. But we're going to keep opening up America again and have more days just like today.
Mr. Vice President, when we do see cases spike, there's always a lot of finger pointing as to who's to blame, sometimes at you and the president, sometimes at the respective state governors. But I wonder whether, certainly compared to February and March, given that people are much more aware of the virus, much more educated about the virus, whether individual people need to take more responsibility if they do decide to go out and do things. And if they do catch the virus, it's really down to them.
Well, if I have to tell you, I couldn't be more proud of this president's leadership in the coronavirus pandemic. Remember, before January was over, he suspended all travel from China and stood up the White House Coronavirus Task Force. We mobilized not only a whole of America, whole of government, but a whole of America approach. And the American people, for those 45 days to slow the spread, made incredible sacrifices. And what we see happening across the Sun Belt today, particularly in 4 states of California, Arizona, Texas, and Florida, is really a function of the fact that we're expanding testing And it may well be that younger Americans began to congregate in settings where the coronavirus was apt to spread. That's why the president and I support efforts by Governor Ducey, Governor Abbott, Governor DeSantis to modify or pause aspects of their reopening. But I must tell you, the fact that we're finding that roughly half of all of the new cases across the Sun Belt are younger Americans, it's good news that we know who has it. We can take steps to slow the spread by focusing on encouraging younger Americans to practice social distancing, wear a mask when it's indicated or when social distancing isn't possible. But also it's good news because, as we all know, younger Americans are much less susceptible to serious outcomes. And as we see, the fatality rate today is roughly where it was in March. That's a testimony to what all the American people are doing, to our healthcare workers, and to the steady progress that we're making. Every day, we're one day closer to putting this coronavirus in the past.
You mentioned wear a mask, Mr. Vice President. Why not take the extra step and make that a national directive? The trade-off seems so attractive. It doesn't take away much of our experiences as economies reopen, and there are such proven benefits on the flip side.
Well, I don't think there's a need for a national mandate. The truth is that we're monitoring right now 12 states that have rising cases and rising positivity, and we're fully supporting efforts that governors are taking and local health officials are taking to encourage people to practice good hygiene, social distancing, wear a mask when social distancing is not possible or is indicated by the local circumstances. But the reality is, as you see in these economic numbers today, this economy is coming back strongly because the American people have learned along the way how we get our country back to work, how we get back to worship, and ultimately how we get back to school. Just earlier this week, the CDC issued updated guidance on K-12 education, on higher education, and we're going to get the kids back to school this fall just every bit as much as this report today shows that America's going back to work.
Goldman Sachs put out some research this week, Mr. Vice President, saying, quote, a face mask could potentially substitute for lockdowns that would otherwise subtract nearly 5% from GDP, a face mask mandate nationally. Does that sway your argument at all?
Well, look, I think the president said yesterday that we support wearing face masks, and every time that they're indicated or social distancing is not possible. But I think one of the keys to the historic leadership that President Trump brought to the coronavirus pandemic is we recognize that this pandemic would impact different parts of the country in different ways. And so we formed a partnership with governors across America to make sure they had what they needed when they needed it. We gave them guidance to practice the kind of mitigation that was appropriate. I mean, there are some areas of the country, in fact, large areas of the country, Wilf, where we have a very low number of cases at all. And so it's not a one-size-all approach, whether it be on testing or on supplies and on mitigation efforts. What we want to do is empower governors and local officials to give the guidance to the people in those communities that's most appropriate for their circumstances. But make no mistake about it, what you see today is that America's going back to work, and the American people are finding a way every day to put this coronavirus farther in the past. And our part, we're just going to continue to make sure the states that are seeing rising cases have everything they need to meet this moment for their healthcare workers, for testing, for therapeutics and medicine. And we have every confidence that standing on the solid foundation built in this economy over the last 3 years, that we're going to continue to see America growing stronger and healthier every day.